I'll show my wife that. So I just got back from a 3-week welding shutdown. These videos and pictures are from some of the work that we did. Now, since I know someone in the comments will mention it, this man that you see holding a lead rope under the crane is not actually under this crane. He's probably a good 40 foot back. It's just difficult to tell when you're looking at this much height. This building that you're looking at with this overhead crane is over 100 foot tall. It could be pushing 160 foot, but I don't know for sure. That's an estimate based on the sheet sizes. So these are the pots that they carried the scrap steel in to be melted down. So right away you can see how bent these I-beams are. Realistically, these I-beams should have been replaced, but the company insisted that we did not replace them. So instead, they had an engineer go over what needed to be done to get them beefed up and stronger. And that consisted of encasing them with 3/4 inch plate, which had to be formed around the bends. This was more like an S-curve on this one, but we had lots of different ones with really bad bends. And the engineer told us that we could not use a rosebud or any type of heat to flex these plates in. So we had to draw them all in, and it was very difficult. You can tell how many half clamps we had to use and how much work we had to do just to get them drawn in. So it's quite a bit of work, and I disagree with the engineer on this, but this is what we were told to do, so this is what we did. You can see just how many half clamps we've used. I think we had 15 before the whole job was done. The guys that I had working with me, they were literally just making half clamps out of everything you could possibly find. We were working on the night crew, so we were very slim because it was a Saturday night and they just didn't have a lot of stuff. You see just how bad these beams really are. I wanted to make a quick mention about this center punch because I use this center punch a lot on this job. It's not mine, it belongs to the company. But I was very impressed. It did very well. It held up just as good as most center punches. And I've actually had a Craftsman center punch that did not perform as well as this one. So we had to tear out and replace the entire forge floor. This turned out to be a heck of a job. We did a lot of different work. We had to replace all of the clips. You can see we're drilling all of the clips here. There was a lot of clips. The whole forge floor had to be completely rebuilt. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that was on the drawings was not true, because after many years of changes and people just fixing it the way that they could, What was on the drawing and what was actually there was two different things. Everything had to be completely covered in insulation after we were done because of the amount of heat that was on this floor. You can see here we're using a straight edge to get this beam dead in line. The beam had to be absolutely perfect and the welds had to be x-rayed. So this little spot that I'm in here is extremely tight. You can't hardly move around, especially once you bend over and get to this weld right here, because it was just a really bad spot. We had to wrap everything completely, so the angle of your rod has to be perfect all the way around, and that's a lot of wraps to try to tie in, which is fine when you're out in the open, but when you get in this tight spot, it was just a little bit of a challenge. Everyone shows their perfect Instagram welds. We need to start a series where we start showing field welds that are actually hard to get to rather than these Instagram table welds. So these clips actually ended up being one of the most challenging parts of the job. They had to be bolted in on one side and welded in on the other, and they were in extremely tight and very hard places to get to, much worse than even the place I just showed you. Which would be fine, but the tolerance was extremely tight and every weld was highly inspected. Which is not a problem for me, but it is a problem when you have mostly millwrights welding, and they are not used to these tight tolerances. So these pictures were taken afterwards, but before we ever got started, we took these lasers and we scribed a line into the wall and floor exactly where the lasers needed to sit, and used the lasers to give us precise measurements of where everything was so that we could put it back exactly the way we took it away. So I forgot to pack a pillow, so I took one of my clean shirts and filled it full of more clean shirts and tied it all together. It actually turned out to be a pretty comfortable pillow. I got a couple hours of sleep and hurried up and came back home. This was a very fun job and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the things that we got to do. I taught a couple guys a few things here and there. But as always, I'm really glad to come back home. I love being away from home for a short time doing a job. But nothing beats coming back to the farm.